This shows the relationships of a house. This is our house. This deck is going to come out to about here. And the solar panels will end up at about this height here. So you can see how that's opening up his view corridor. And I'll have a picture from this deck out towards Game Creek Bowl, and it's the trees that are blocking this view. It's not going to be the solar system. I got a shed roof over it, or a rake roof. There are so many examples in Wild Ridge that architects use that type of technique, and it adds visual appeal to it, to a building if you do it right. This is a system that's right near me. I pointed out in the original. I don't particularly like the design of it, but I think that guy has all the right to put it on there. He's totally within code. If it was me, I would have put it on the hill behind his house, but I don't know all the circumstances. He might not have room behind there. He's got other solar panels there, solar thermal. But I don't like putting things on. I've been in the solar business longer than anybody. I've probably installed more solar thermal systems than anybody. I don't like making roof penetrations. And roofs, flat roofs or shake roofs, they're just too hard to see. This is coming down the road a different direction. It's very prominent. Mine will not be prominent from the road. This is just another picture farther away driving. Our road is over here. Beaver Creek Point. This is behind the house. There's some solar panels there. Why have some solar panels on a hill and some solar panels on the roof? Why don't we just put them all in there? This is up in Wild Ridge. This looks like it's illegal. This looks like it's a ground-mounted solar system that's facing the street, which is illegal according to the code. It's not. It's a garage. It's an auxiliary garage. You can go from edge to edge. Okay? I've gotten that confirmation from the fire department before I started this project. William Gray's got that confirmation. Dave's got that confirmation. It shouldn't have been in the report. We're just waiting. He wants it in writing. This system's illegal. It goes from edge to edge. It's over a living area. Oops. The problem also is with the code, with the fire codes, over a living area, you need 3 feet all around your solar collectors for the fireman to walk on. And with a roof of all those gables that I have on my roof and all that, you just can't put anything hard up there. And then it's really hard to do the penetrations right. This system is another illegal roof. It's too close to the edge. This one's an illegal installation. This is a net zero energy house I built in stock. I can do all sorts of stuff with architecture. This wall, these windows do not go through. I just stuck a window on the outside of the wall, make it look good. I can make this thing look as good as you can imagine. So I use techniques like this. I just want you to get comfortable with my design qualities. That's all I'm doing here. This is a 2-story entrance. According to your codes, it wouldn't be allowed. This is the interior of that house. This house looks like a multi-million-dollar house. I built this house for about $400,000. This house has got cement walls, it's ICF construction, zero energy use. So there's different building techniques, and that's what I do for developers. I teach them how to build better, greener, more energy efficient, more environmentally friendly. That's the front door. Every ceiling in this house is different. We do stuff even like faux painting. That looks like it is an inlet in this stonework. That's all painted, and that's a flat surface. It's just painted in it, like it's in. It goes in. This looks like it sticks out. It doesn't stick out. It's flat. So I'm just trying to give you a little ease with how this thing's going to turn out. This will be one of the better looking solar systems the way it is.
So views are subjective. Let me jump in here. Views are subjective. What you may view as a view corridor may not be what your neighbor views as a view corridor. But regardless, in the town of Avon and in Colorado, views are not protected. And so none of this review that we're going to be doing tonight has anything regarding your view of Game Creek Bowl or someone else's view of Game Creek Bowl or someone else's view of New York Mountain or anything like that. The only views that are protected are platted view easements, and there are none in this area. So I don't want to, from this body, discuss views, and I don't want view preference to be something that we're arguing or discussing anymore, because that's not a review criteria that we have on our table tonight. So thank you, but we don't need a response. If not, I have a question for staff. Is the property a platted building envelope, or is it traditional Wild Ridge setbacks?
It is traditional, except for on the driveway side.
Okay, so it's setbacks. It's not a platted specific building envelope.
It's platted on the driveway side.
Okay, thank you.
And my question for staff regarding lot coverage, building coverage, assuming your calculation doesn't just take into consideration the building footprint, but there's other criteria that you use for building coverage calculation?
I used the report from when this house was originally constructed. And that's the number that they gave me, and it seems like it was in the PER.
But regardless, that number was
Lower than
within
correct
zoning requirements. So
correct.
regardless of whether it's staff's number or your number, the lot coverage complies with our zoning requirements. So another moot point.
One of those papers addresses the reflectivity by a solar company. There's a non-reflective coating on all panels now. And so they've solved the reflectivity issue.
So HOA documents are generally agreements between homeowners. The town is not generally a party to those HOA documents. Therefore, it's not our role or responsibility to enforce private covenants for HOA documents. With that
Presentation, if you don't mind standing up to the podium. And I will ask, since we have a heavy load on our agenda tonight, if you will be as thorough but concise as possible, providing us with the additional information that was requested from the last meeting. So, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Judy Douglas, and I am the co-owner of 2011 Beaver Creek Point with Tom. Planning staff has acknowledged that our revised plan for the deck, with the storage area below, mimic the existing architecture of 3 homes in the Beaver Creek Point CUD. Staff has recommended approval of phases 1 and 2 of our solar project. The design of the deck and the storage area has been deemed to be harmonious with the surrounding PUD. Our proposal meets the guideline called out in the Beaver Creek Point HOA documents stating, and I quote, that all modifications to structures and on land within the project conform to and harmonize with existing surroundings and structures. Our proposal also meets the design, the design review guidelines that the town of Avon enforces for the Wild Ridge HOA. To reinforce this, I'd like to show you what one sees when entering the driveway at Beaver Creek Point. This is the first thing you see, a deck over a garage. And what do you see from the front windows of our house? Two more. This is the first one, a deck over a garage, and this is the second one, a deck over a garage. So what we're proposing is nothing out of the ordinary for the Beaver Creek Point PUD. Opponents contend that we are building within a non-buildable easement and a common area. Let's take a look at the final plat map from 1999. This final plat map, certified by the town on October 25th, 1999, and recorded on November 23rd, 1999, shows all the recorded easements. The map further states the following. Under item number 4, and I quote, the sole purpose of the plat is to subdivide lot 111, which is the entire 5-house subdivision, to create lots 111A through 111E and the easements shown hereon, and unquote. Item 5.
Follow along, you have a packet on the page that has number 4 on it, that's the 4th slide.
Yeah, it's a little easier to read on your packet than maybe on the screen. Item number 5 states, and I quote, the access easement created by this plat is exclusively for the purpose of ingress and egress to and from lots 11A through 11E. The plat map clearly reveals a building envelope approved by Avon for lot 11C, which is 2011 Beaver Creek Point, and that the easement for the ingress and egress is many feet away from the remaining buildable envelope at the southern end of the existing home on lot 11C. Unfortunately, staff did not include information in your packet that we provided to them that addresses many of the concerns discussed at the June 5th Planning and Zoning Committee hearing. We provided staff a letter and a map from the county surveyor stating that our building envelope shown on the plat map is void of easements and is not a common area. These documents should be included in the record. This letter is in the packet, it's up on the screen now, and it's also in the packet that we provided for you today, and it's slide number 5. In the BCP, or the Beaver Creek Point HOA declarations, common area is defined as follows in Article 2, under definitions, item G. Common area means all the real property and improvements thereon, if any, in which the association owns an interest for the common use and enjoyment of all owners on a non-exclusive basis. Such interest may include, without limitations, estates in fee for terms of years or easements. The only common area in the 2001 Beaver Creek Point PUD is the access easement that's created by the plat map that is exclusively, once again, for the purpose of ingress and egress to and from lots 11A through 11E.
Let me point out, this was the map that was provided by the county surveyor, and he highlighted the scene. So this is the building envelope.
Tom, can you just make sure you're talking in the mic so that we can pick it up? Can you please talk into the mic so we can pick it up?
Sure. This was the map that was provided along with that letter from the county surveyor. The yellow section is the building envelope that was approved a long time ago. But there's still another 5 feet to the south of that building envelope, because that building envelope is 15 feet away from that side yard. and the side yard clearances are 10. So we could actually, without a variance, build another 5 feet to the south. The easement that comes in does not go over any part of that building envelope.
Avon staff required that we obtain a new expensive title report. This title report is identical to the one that we received when we purchased 2011 Beaver Creek Point in 2015. These title reports did not find any easement on the plat map or in the governing documents that would prevent the full build-out of the building envelope on the final plat map approved by Avon more than 15 years ago. The final approved plat map shows 15 feet between our previously approved building envelope and the southern edge of our lot, which is what Tom was just explaining. However, the staff report verifies side yard setbacks are 10. Thus, we could legally build another 5 feet towards the south without obtaining a variance. Unfortunately, staff did not make us aware of this.
Can you speak to the microphone?
I'm sorry. Sorry. Unfortunately, staff did not make us aware of this when we inquired about simultaneously applying for a variance so that the 21 panels could be installed without the need to cantilever the 6 panels over the existing house. As you may recall, staff and this Planning and Zoning Committee had concerns about those 6 panels that cantilevered over the existing house at the June 5th hearing. Building outside the approved building envelope while still maintaining side yard setbacks would address those concerns while also complying with Colorado Statute 38-30-168 and Avon's Ordinance, Section 7.28.100, Item G. The two laws or ordinances that we're talking about are on the screen now. The Town of Avon's general standard prohibits anything or anyone from preventing the installation of an alternative energy system. This is consistent with the town's long-term goals. The state law specifically prohibits stopping the installation of renewable energy systems or requiring changes that increase the cost of the installation or decrease its efficiency. We will submit a letter later in this presentation from an attorney confirming that Avon needs to comply with the state statutes and their own local ordinance. In response to the staff comment regarding a previous requirement to replace trees that were taken out on our property for fire mitigation and to open up views for our neighbors, we agreed to plant 3 15-gallon shrubs around the proposed deck and storage area. These would be in addition to 90 plants, over 90 plants and 100 bulbs that have already been planted in the area. This should meet staff's concerns regarding landscaping requirements. This PUD will remain one of the most attractive properties in Wild Ridge. We would like to remind everyone that the plans at this stage are conceptual. The notes on the plans ensure that the architecture and the colors mimic the existing architecture in the PUD and that the deck and the storage area will be constructed within the platted and approved building envelope unless we receive approval for a variance to build outside the building envelope to the east. If we did receive a variance to build 4 feet more to the east, it is mainly the solar panel overhangs that intrude into the existing large 25-foot setback that is actually in our backyard that faces Beaver Creek Point. This 4-foot intrusion would not be noticeable to people as it is way above eye height. Now, however, we would like to continue to make the case for the approval of phase 3 of the project, or the solar array above the deck and storage area. Let's begin by looking at the proposed location of the solar array. Here is an overhead view of the site from Google Earth.
What we'll see in here, because the way the Beaver Creek Point Road travels and because of the existing trees, this solar system will barely be seen from the street. You would have to make an effort to find the solar system. So as you're driving down the street north, these trees on Mr. Curry's property, plus these trees here, block the solar system that would be here facing this direction. And you won't see it. Driving from the other direction, I'll point them out in just a second, there's other trees and the house itself that block the view of the solar system. Where we have a movie of this so you can see when we're driving down the road. It's these trees in this house and the solar system is here. And so it's barely seeable from the street. So we're talking about this aesthetics for a system you can't even see. This is a picture from the road, a sail picture, and this would be the end of the house, buried back behind these trees. You cannot see that solar system. Oops. This would be a view coming the other way, and this tree and the house itself block the view of the solar system. A little technical error here, which we'll fix. This is driving down the road, and as you can see, as we turn here, we cannot see where that solar system is because of these trees that are blocking it. Even as you pass the house, you do not see that solar system. So we're talking about aesthetics on a system you can't see. Now, as we go farther down this road, off to the right, there is some solar panels on this house that will be coming up here, and they're very prominent. They're tilted up, and that is a very prominent figure that you can see, and that was allowed. This is driving from the other direction. Those are the solar systems that were allowed to go in. Very prominent figure that you can see. And here we're driving back onto Beaver Creek Point, and as you can see these trees here, and the house itself block the view of where the solar system will be. Even driving into the driveway, from the side that you think you'd see it on, you can't see the solar, wouldn't be able to see the solar system. Or the garage, or having a storage unit, or the deck, because these trees block it. And there's going to be some more trees planted there. This is driving down Saddle Ridge Road. Our house is over to the right quite a ways. That's the PUD over there. And here are some prominent solar collectors that you obviously can see. And those were allowed. They're all over Wild Ridge. They're very prominent figures. A solar system is different than a house. It's always going to be a prominent figure. Ours is probably going to be the least visible of the solar systems up there.
So we saw the,
Microphone.
so we saw those tilt-up panels. Staff did not have a concern that the wiring on the underside of the panel would be an eyesore for any of the solar installations where the underside of the panels is exposed. That would be those tilters. And staff should not have any concerns, as the wiring can be barely seen and is not an eyesore. The question that you must ask is, are we being treated fairly and judged equally, or are we being required to do more? At our previous appearance before the Planning and Zoning Committee, we heard several objections that staff had to the solar array. Over the next several weeks, we addressed those objections. They included, the first objection, low head clearance at the south end of the deck. In the response, we changed the pitch of the array and now have 7 feet 4 inches of headroom in that location. That is much more than what is required by building codes that allow us to have a head clearance of less than 2 feet. The second objection, the panels being cantilevered over the existing roof.
Used to go up to here.
In response, we shortened the array by removing the highest row of 6 panels, so the array no longer cantilevers over the house. This does, however, result in a solar array that produces 40% less energy, which violates state and local renewable energy directives. Third objection, reflectivity of the solar panels. For our original design and application, Rich Kubine, the owner of the local solar company Active Energies, submitted a letter stating that, quote, solar collectors have a non-reflective coating, so they should not cause any visual nuisance to his neighbors, unquote. The cut sheets from manufacturers of solar panels state that the collectors have non-reflective coatings. Unlike mirrors that have reflective silver or aluminum oxide coatings, solar panels are black, which is the least reflective of all colors. I doubt that anyone in this room has ever been blinded by reflective light from a solar panel. Since solar panels convert light to energy, there's very little energy left to reflect outward. Measurements from independent researchers have revealed that modern photovoltaic panels reflect less than 2% of the light. This is less reflection than soil, windows, or even wood shingles. If reflectivity was an issue, then all solar panels in Wildridge should be removed.
What I'd like to point out here, this is what the trees removed. When the trees were there, that if we even put mirrors up there, the trees would block the reflection. But they don't reflect.
The fourth objection, that the solar panels extend more than 2 feet above a pitched roof. The solar panels actually are a roof that provides shade or protection from the sun's cancerous rays, making the deck even more usable. There are several reasons why a traditional roof was not shown on the plans. A, the new bifacial solar panels that increase efficiency because the same solar cells collect reflected light from underneath the panel as well as from the top, cannot be used if a traditional roof is installed. This limits our ability to consider using this new technology. B, solar panels decrease in efficiency as their temperature rises, so having no roof under them allows for better ventilation and efficiency and also lowers the amount of panel degradation over time. C, the added cost of the unnecessary additional roof materials and the increase of wood materials that can potentially feed a fire. We addressed these issues previously raised by staff. Our original May application was revised and resubmitted on Tuesday, 7/23/2018, which is about 30 days ago. We probably should have been before this committee on August 7th, 2018. However, despite the fact that all documents were submitted to address all staff's issues, staff chose not to have the public notice submitted to the local paper on Friday, 7/27/2018. Despite repeated requests, we did not receive this new staff report with new objections until last Friday. This gave us one full business day to obtain documents we believe would be helpful to this presentation. However, None of staff's new objections are insurmountable. And these new objections include, number one, deviations from guidelines suggested in 1999 by the architect on the initial PUD proposal map for the re-subdivision of Lot 11C. These suggested design theme general guidelines are conceptual. They're not municipal code. When the homes in the BCP PUD were constructed, many of these general guidelines were not followed. For example, the roofs were supposed to be asphalt shingle. In reality, they are wooden shakes. The exposed chimneys were supposed to be stone. In reality, they're stucco. The cedar fascia were supposed to be painted with semi-transparent stain. In reality, the fascia are number 2 Douglas fir, not cedar, and they're painted, simply painted. There were supposed to be 3-car garages. In reality, only 2-car garages were built out. This last feature would have been nice, since most of us have many toys that we use to support our outdoor lifestyle. It would have been great to have another storage area for some of those toys. Actually, our storage addition will probably bring us closer into compliance with the 1999 guidelines than the other homes in our PUD. Did you want to
So the guidelines are up here, they're guidelines. This is a conceptual map for when they applied for the PUD. And when you do that, you just have a concept of what you wanted to do. And the concept is basically some buildings with high ceilings with dormers.
So to be held today to a design standard that the original builders were not held to seems a bit unfair. To be held to a design standard formulated when solar was not cost effective or a key player in diminishing global warming seems irresponsible. The 2 specific non-compliant design features mentioned by staff are number 6, large cedar fascia with semi-transparent stains, and number 9, gabled roof with dormers. If necessary, we can address both of these. A cedar fascia could be added to the solar array. This, however, would only increase the profile of the array and serve to call it out and make it more viewable than its current design. Adding another roof section sloping north from the top of the solar array could create a gabled roof. However, this seems like unnecessary decoration rather than good design. We would also like to point out that at least one of the homes in the Beaver Creek Point PUD has a raked roof, or a shed roof, in addition to gable roofs and dormers. So we would not be deviating from any norm. The second objection was the underside, the aesthetics of the underside of the solar array. The wiring on the underside of the solar array should not be of concern. Typically, the wires are run along the edges of the purlins that the panels are mounted on and are hidden from view. The wires are exposed on every tilt-up installation of solar panels in Wildridge, and it doesn't appear to have been an issue. We will take every precaution to ensure that the panel installation is done professionally and meets not only your, but our standards of neatness. Of course, we could always build a standard roof above the deck and mount the panels on the roof. This would, however, increase the cost of the project, which is not allowable by state renewable energy laws and Avon's ordinance. Here's a picture of those tilt-up solar panels, and those are within 200 feet of our proposed project. The third objection, defining the solar array as ground-mounted and finding that solar collection has not been maximized on the primary structure is a misleading statement. The solar panels are not freestanding above the ground with nothing underneath them. The deck and the storage area are attached to the house. Even if not attached to the house, the storage area would be an outbuilding, and the solar array would be attached to the outbuilding, and thus not defined as ground-mounted. Phases 1 and 2, the deck and storage area, will be built before the solar array is mounted. You have an email in the package that we provided today from Christian Basso of Sunset Solar, stating that the proposed solar array is not ground-mounted, and that any concerns from the town of Avon can be readily addressed by his engineering and structural staff. It's a short email, so I just like to read it to you. This was directed on Monday, August 20th to David McWilliams. Hi, David. Thanks for forwarding this email. You
I'm going
forwarded
to
him.
stop you right there. We do have this email before us,
Okay.
and since this is a long agenda tonight, I would like to wrap up the presentation, and we can go ahead and ask applicant questions. But we do have that email in front of us, so just wanted to make sure.
Okay, that's fine, just so that everybody reads it.
Yeah, absolutely. We had it in front of us during this presentation.
Okay. Regarding maximization of solar collection on the primary structure, your packet contains 2 letters from solar companies verifying that our roof is not suitable for mounting solar panels, and there is not enough room to mount the number of panels that we need to install. As a result of fire department building codes that required 3 feet of free roof area around the solar panels over livable spaces, and because of the numerous dormers and the many trees planted adjacent to our existing house, there's not enough non-shaded available space that can collect enough of the sun's light for our energy needs. Furthermore, the roof is a 17-year-old shake roof that makes it very difficult to install solar panels without having leaks. In a letter submitted with our original proposal and included in your packet, Christian Basso writes, and he talks about the same things that I just mentioned, the shade roof, the shaded areas, the new fire requirements, and then he concludes, and I quote, "The design of a 21-panel solar array at the southern end of his house," Mr. Remler's, "is the best location given the circumstances." Unfortunately, staff did not include the letter that we provided them that we requested from the Avon Fire Department. This letter states that panels installed over non-livable spaces are exempt from new fire codes and thus can be installed over, and the panels therefore can be installed over the proposed deck as our plans show. So we have the fire department approval. The fourth objection, and the last objection, the town of Avon's lawyer believes that the state laws protecting against, quote, unreasonable restrictions on renewable energy generation devices, unquote, only apply to private covenants and restrictions and do not affect local government land use authority. It would appear, however, that the town of Avon is acting in the capacity of design reviewer for the subdivision of Wildridge. The restatement of and third amendment to protective covenant of Wildridge subdivision in the town of Avon, Eagle County, Colorado, recorded on September 14th, 1982, and enforced until 2029, specifically defines the town of Avon as the design review board for the HOA, making it a member of the HOA and the enforcer of the above document. You have a copy of the first page of that document in the packet that we provided for you today, and we can provide the entire document as well. Essentially, the town of Avon and the Planning and Zoning Committee are operating as key members of the Wildridge HOA, a private organization with its own covenants and restrictions. Therefore, the town of Avon is subject to state laws protecting the development of renewable energy. Furthermore, the intent of the law is clear, as global warming has revealed devastating consequences to the economy in many forms, including fires and lack of snow, which is surely a main driver of the economy locally. It is clear that federal, state, and local legislatures want to encourage alternative energy systems and have created legislation that greatly inhibits any entity from inhibiting its installation. Also in your packet You have
that we provided.
that we provided. You have a letter from Heather Lemon, who is an attorney and a local real estate agent, and it is her opinion that the town of Avon should be held accountable to the state laws and to its own renewable energy ordinances. So please take a look at Heather's letter. On a local level, Avon's town attorney has reiterated that Avon also has its own general standard, which states that, quote, any person or association, regardless of the date of establishment, is prohibited from imposing private covenants, conditions, restrictions, deed clauses, or other agreements between parties that prevent persons from installing and using alternative energy systems, unquote. He does not say that Avon or the Planning and Zoning Committee is exempt from complying with this standard or can ignore Avon's goals of encouraging solar, decreasing greenhouse gases, addressing global warming, and becoming a green and more sustainable city. We have did you put this on the package? Did you put this in the package? Okay, I would like also to read, when we first started this project, we're trying to get this project approved.
In March.
Back in March.
5 months ago.
Yeah. We reviewed the state and local codes with David McWilliams, and he agreed at that point in time that neither the town nor our HOA could really stop the solar installation for aesthetic reasons. And he said, specifically in an email dated April 20th, 2018, thanks for good afternoon, Tom. We asked for an approval letter from the HOA, not on aesthetic grounds, which you rightly point out is not allowed, but to avoid timing/maintenance issues. For example, suppose a homeowner was unaware of the HOA wanting a new roof on a shared property and built some panels without first asking. A simple email will do, along with the supporting site drawings, planning documents, and a $75 development application fee. And here's the key. Again, the town is not judging this on aesthetic grounds. We are merely checking that the regulations in place for solar panels are being met. And this email is directed to Tom Remler and William Gray, and it was from David Williams. We have bent over backwards to work with the Planning and Zoning Committee staff on this project, but we have met resistance the entire way. We hope that this committee will abide by the state law and not disregard the stated town policies on renewable energy. Approving our proposal will result in a very attractive solar system mounted over a very usable deck that can barely be seen from the street. The solar system will power our electric car and satisfy most of the electric needs for our house. In conclusion, we've taken the liberty of suggesting some additional findings to supplement those staff provided. We have a copy of those in your packet of what we provided today. Items 11 through 14 primarily reference phases 1 and 2 of the project, and items 12 through 23 come into play if the solar array or phase 3 of the project is approved. We feel that these statements will more clearly define the project and the basis for your decision, and we ask that you take them under consideration. Thank you.
Before we get into questions for the applicant, I know I have a question for staff, and we have a few questions for our town lawyer. So if he can sneak up here, if he's listening to us at all. Eric? Okay. My question for staff is the solar panels that were mentioned across the street from their property, are those in compliance?
With current town code, no.
There was solar part.
So I think the pictures that were displayed were from Salvage Loop. There's a flat roof house, and I can't confirm this, but I believe those were installed before the 2010 Natural Resource Protection Standards, which I think are referenced in David's memo. So I think those were put in place before the town code requirements.
They were installed last year, within 6 months.
No, they weren't. I live right around the corner. Those panels have been there for many years.
I'm pretty sure we use those as illustrative examples that help define that 6 foot above a flat roof standard that got into the natural resource protection section. So, yeah, I agree with your recollection that of when those were. Is that not in the microphone very well? Do you have any other?
No, that was my
So-
question for staff.
So Eric, question for you. Can you provide comments on two things? One, the town's role as DRB in relation to the HOA, and how that impacts our ability to enact regulations.
Sure.
And then second, also the town's ability to control or to impact designs of solar that could also impact costs. As it seems to be two of the letter comments that I heard from the applicant.
Right. So with regard to the Wild Ridge subdivision, in my experience in 10 years, and I have not seen previously the town of Avon ever act in any capacity as a design review board or act in any capacity to enforce Wild Ridge covenants. I've read them as issues come up in Wild Ridge. I've probably read them half a dozen times over the years. They say that the town can act as the design review board, and if it doesn't, then the homeowners in Wild Ridge can have their own design review or do their enforce their own covenants on their own. Yes, back in 1982, there was language that said the town of Avon could act in that capacity. I don't know if it ever did, but it has not in the last decade or more acted as design review. In the opinion I provided, citing referencing the state statute, which is very clear, and there's case law that says private covenants cannot be used to restrict solar devices. So that's clear, and there's one case under that statute, and it's pretty well acknowledged amongst real estate attorneys that means what it says, and that private HOA covenants and declarations restrictions cannot be used to restrict solar devices. That does not apply to municipalities. That's an opinion I have that most municipal attorneys share. Our authority is police power authority. It's not real estate contractual authority. When you talk about the design review and the covenants and the 1982 Wild Ridge PG guide, that's all on the private side, creating declarations that run with the property. Our zoning power comes from our police power authorities. It's in Title VII of our development code, and that's really what is binding on the town. It's the criteria. Some advice I'm going to give you tonight is you need to stick to the criteria in your code and not concern yourself or consider the private covenants that are on this property. That said, and I think myself and planning staff and maybe some others have a little bit different views of the structures being proposed and how that fits with our code. The code does give a right to put on solar devices if you're mounting on an existing roof and it's not more than 2 feet, and if you're mounting on the ground and it's not more than 10 feet, and if you're mounting on a flat roof. I viewed what they were building, looking at the plans, as a flat roof because there's a deck and there's a structure below it. So somewhere between that structure below it and that deck, there is a roof that if it's enclosed. And so I interpreted it that way. But that's, this is a little bit unusual in how that fits in. So if you were to approve something that had a flat roof, I would say they have a right to build something that's as high as 6 feet above it. They also, and that does not take away from your authority, in my opinion, to review new roofs. If they want to propose a solar panel as a roof, I think that's something you haven't seen before. That's something you can consider, but that doesn't, the fact that it's a solar panel or shingles or metal or whatever doesn't change your ability to review that roof form under the design section of your code. I think that covers everything I wanted to offer tonight.
And then one other question, in some of the public comment that was provided, it seems like there's a potential lawsuit between the HOA and the property owner. In your opinion, does any decision that is made tonight by this Planning and Zoning Commission have any impact on that? Or is that
So
something
our duty as a local government in reviewing development applications is wholly independent from enforcement or legal pursuits with regard to private declarations. I saw in that letter there was a request to table the matter until there was an outcome. I would definitely counsel against that. We have an obligation to process applications in accordance with the timeframes that are in our code and in accordance with the review criteria we have in our development code. The last thing I was going to add is that the applicant did point out some provisions in the code that do allow some flexibility, and I do think that does allow you some flexibility in doing this. So that's your discretion.
Thank you.
Peter, any other questions for staff?
They brought up the topic of notice and said this should have been on a prior agenda. Can you speak to that or
Sure.
just address that contention?
The application wasn't deemed complete because we didn't have all the materials.
The materials that he didn't have, claims he didn't have, was the square footage coverage of the lot. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And we went over that at the other meeting, that no matter if I used his figures or my figures of that square footage, that it didn't matter because it was both under. So we covered it and settled that issue at the last meeting. But also I supplied that information 3 times before the deadline to apply for to notice and to paper to publish. And he didn't publish. And I was a little bit upset about that because it started in March, so I could get this project in this year, and we keep running out of time. And so I can show you the emails where I supplied that information, the architect that supplied that information, and it was on the lot coverage, and Jared made the comment back then that it didn't matter on getting the exact percentage of lot coverage because both of our calculations were under.
Have any questions for the applicant on the presentation?
I have one other question first.
Go ahead.
So one of the last points that was brought up from the homeowner association president was that the addition was going to be built on an easement. Has that been cleared up? Is that a question been cleared up?
There are no documented easements on the plat or PUD, so any easement is more of a maintenance covenant level issue.
But within the building envelope, there is no easement.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? This is a public hearing, so I am going to open this up to the public if anyone would like to get up and speak.
Before somebody gets up and speak, can I address one of the points that...
Absolutely, go ahead. Let's just try to be as concise as possible and move this forward.
We could easily put up a roof under the solar panels, okay? But that starts limiting your options. The new technology out there is that a solar cell is basically round or hexagon, and they're not stacked together, so there's space in between all these circles. And light goes through those spaces, can go through those spaces with a different type of panel. And those panels are used as a roof, and they use them like for greenhouse additions to a home. So you get light from them. And so those panels are about 15% more efficient with no more cost because they're using the same cell for both sides. Okay? And that's why it wasn't put under. And as you mentioned, the panels are more efficient without the roof underneath. Now, if this planning commission thinks that this is a ground mount, is mounted over a deck, I'll put a roof on there. And I'll put a roofing materials such as asphalt shingles under it. You won't see them because it's covered. And then I'll put the solar on it, and it totally complies. And I'm not extending over, and I can extend that roof legally 8, 10 feet over the other roof because it's a roof. It's not a solar panel. So I'm hoping you use some logic here. But what we tried to do with this design is we eliminated those panels that extended over because of suggestions of this committee. But then that decreases our performance by 40%. And so, okay, to build 4 feet towards the road, which isn't approaching any of our neighbors. It's in our yard. And that amount that goes to 4 feet, most of it is overhang, is way up there. Some, a little bit is of the building for support. So I hope that clarifies that ground mounted and all these slopes.
Thank you very much. Let's move on. If you were, Bill?
Well, I would agree with staff and my two fellow commissioners. However, I do look at the solar panel acting as a roof. It seems to make sense, the argument the applicant made. I question how we approve of something when the homeowner association disapproves of it. So I'm not sure, Eric, what kind of legal shenanigans we create, or whether we should even think about it.
I think you should not think about it.
Okay.
It's they're totally separate, and we can approve something that is not allowed under private covenant or is to speak under private covenant. They're both independent.
Okay. That being said, I will strike that information that I've received and the letters that I've received. And if I look at the application on face value, it looks like the solar panel meets the requirements. I'm concerned about the setbacks and how close it is to the line. So there would be the need to stake it out prior to construction. And I had a question on the trees. If the trees are hiding the panels, don't those same trees block the sun for the panels? That's about it.
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to go ahead and make my comment here. As I review our review criteria for the minor development plan and design review, I agree with Bill. This does act as a roof form.